Ladies and gentlemen, we are now gathered to induct the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. But when I think about our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, I actually have to go back to just over 4 years ago when I think back to the first time that I had a chance live to speak with our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. The irony of it was, after we finished our interview, a worldwide pandemic had started called COVID, or in those days we referred to it as the coronavirus. Sadly, I might have wished I had a corona or two, but that's for a different conversation for a different time. But the reason I bring that up, ladies and gentlemen, is because our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, he showed what a coach is about throughout that time, and showing his resolve, showing his heart, and especially helping keep a team that's 11 hearts beating as one, calm, cool, and collected, which led to them in the Five Town Sound men's soccer team to having maybe one of the greatest success stories that we've ever covered here in Sportswire Radio history. As the prior season, they had their biggest victory against Berkeley College, who was number one at the time, but they themselves in 2021 used a motivation of a worldwide pandemic to become number one in the country and take themselves all the way to the USCAA National Championship game. Countless All-Americans, countless wins throughout the years followed over NCAA schools and trips back to the USCAA and conference championship after championship. But I go back, ladies and gentlemen, to that day that I interviewed our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And I said to myself that day, that's the guy that I want to be if I ever have a Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, to be the first coach that I ever have induct, because of his leadership and the true definition, ladies and gentlemen, of what a coach is. A coach is there to make those not only better as athletes, but better as players and individuals. And our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame has done that really ever since his own playing days, and prior to those playing days when his dad was actually a coach, and he, of course, was a standout player at Malloy for the men's soccer teams there, only went to the NCAA tournament, even played with a couple of guys that coached here at Five Towns. And it all led us, though, to the day that really Five Towns athletics was permanently and forever shaped. On December 14th, 2018, when Jason Fiscina was hired as the head coach of the men's soccer team. And after what followed suit was 38 wins, 16 losses, 7 draws. What also followed was numerous championships, as we stated, being the USCAA Coach of the Year in 2021. It also led him to countless players that were Players of the Week and 3 USCAA National Tournament appearances. It also led him to 3 Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference regular season championships. But that's still such a thing, but it is on the record book, so we have to give it to him. But most importantly, the men that he shaped and the lives that they have chosen and what they will become. But also, I should bring up, he was also the man that laid the foundations for the Five Town Sound women's soccer team, which one particular player is a very special one, and maybe, just maybe, the greatest athlete to have ever come out of Five Towns, the entire college, Jordan Tobin, who's about to maybe forever not only change her life, but Five Towns as we know it. As because of our coach, she has gotten a chance to have a professional tryout in basketball. Coach Fiscina laid the foundations for that. But, you know, December 14, 2018 was an important day because it almost reminds me of the movie Field of Dreams. If they build it, they will come. Now, certainly we'd like to see maybe a bigger soccer field at Five Towns, but I certainly will let Matt Gershio off the hook for that. But the point is, If they build it, they will come. In the fact, by having a man like Jason Fiscina, a man whose resume speaks for itself, as what many players have told me here on this platform over the years, a man who has a ring on his fingers, and I'm not talking about a wedding ring, although maybe the missus might be fed up with him right now being on the air on Sportswire, but that's a different conversation. But happy birthday, Lauren, by the way. I want to make sure your beautiful daughter has a happy birthday or belated birthday. But the fact is that if you build it, they will come. And he's done that. He has taken a program. When I go back to our first interview over 4 years ago, to where the program was, to where the program is, and where the program will be. And as a matter of fact, Jason Fiscina said what would actually happen here on this platform. And it's happened. In fact, it's even happened so well to the point that Jason Fiscina maybe had his life even more forever changed on March the 5th when he became the head coach of, that's right, the United States amputee soccer team, the men's team. And it even led him 12 days later to going to Rome, Georgia with the team. It was all because of his journey. But certainly Jason Fiscina is in the Hall of Fame because of what he's done on the field as a player and a coach. But I always think to the 4 previous times that Coach Fiscina has been on Sportswire Radio, and what it's always been about is building a family atmosphere at Five Towns College. And Coach Fiscina has done that, but he's done that in a way alongside athletic director Matt Gershio and the many other coaches that have been here. Jeff Litwin, Corey Jakes, big shout out to Coach Jakes, Greg Giselle, yes, Greg Giselle, Coach Giselle, hope you're doing well out there. Christy Herring when she was here, Thomas O'Keefe from eSports. But the fact is, Jason Fiscina's biggest legacy is the people that he shaped for the teams that he coached, men's and women's soccer, where they went on to become productive members of society. They've become bigger and better people off the field. And even our most recent guest, Adrian and Saeed Wong, and we see them now becoming famous music stars, and Adrian Wong's got the barbershop business. But the point is that all of the players that have come on here from this platform and have played for Coach Fiscina, whether it's the women's soccer team, which he held the position for 2 years, and the men's soccer team since December the 14th, 2018, he has made them all better people off the field. And to me, ladies and gentlemen, that's the biggest mark of success that any coach can have, is how you've held and molded your players after we're here at Five Towns. When I think about our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, I could certainly bring up the days on the softball field. I won't bring that up. I could certainly bring up the fact that one of his assistant coaches is actually a part of the family. I won't do that here after. This isn't a roast. This is actually to induct a man that is obviously a very special person. But, when I think about Coach Jason Fiscina, I can honestly say in my over 5 years as doing this, as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, and sure, we've transformed into a global juggernaut. We recently had a clip on TikTok with 30,000 views. Thousands of people listen to our shows each and every week. But Jason Fiscina, aside from all of that, he has been the one constant on this platform. And I can honestly say that Jason Fiscina and Five Towns College have been my biggest supporters. And I'm not quite sure, ladies and gentlemen, if I would be here on Sportswire Radio, or Sportswire Radio would have the success if it wasn't for the belief from Jason Fiscina, Five Towns Sound Athletic Director Matt Gershio, and all of the great players and coaches that have been here over the past 5 years. They platform, they believed in it as a tool to see not only for themselves to grow, but to give their players an outlet for coverage. And they time and time again chose Sportswire Radio. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be forever indebted, not only to Five Towns as a whole for the college and the athletics program, but also to Jason Fiscina. And also, well, he did get me a couple of people to interview recently. I mean, one guy, after all, is the worldwide pet collector. Shout out Dane Johnson. I promise you're going to be coming on Sportswire real soon, and maybe we'll put you in the Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll put you in as the Hall of Fame for Pez, but that's a different conversation. But also, I'm forever indebted for Coach Fiscina for connecting me to other great people like the GOAT of Hicksville, John Petroselli. And John Petroselli is still playing, and maybe at this point, he's one of the greatest basketball players to ever have come out of Long Island. And also, most notably recently, Paige Palazzolo. What a story Paige Palazzolo is. And of course, she is the head coach of the women's amputee soccer team. That's all because Jason Fiscina is not thinking about himself. He's thinking about other people and how he could help them. And that's the greatest trait to me of Jason Fiscina. And I know I'm going to get to you, Coach. Don't worry about it. I know you're sitting here like, when's he going to wrap this up? I wanted you to make this the greatest intro of your life. You did say that, by the way, over 4 years ago. Nobody spoke to me the way you introduced like I did years ago. So this one's going to be times 10. I can promise you that. But the facts are is that Jason Fiscina has been a great teacher. He has been a great mentor. He has been a great role model. He's been a great friend. He's even been a great softball player, and he's certainly been a great coach. But those are all the great traits that Jason Fiscina has. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't think of a better person to be the first coach inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame than Jason Fiscina. And I can assure you, well, also because he gets to one-up Jason Guardieso, because Jason Guardieso, for the longest time, had the most appearances of any coach in Sportswire radio history. So I believe this will tie you with Coach Guardieso, and now you'll have another one-up on him. So maybe he'll hold the Olive Garden breadsticks there just for an evening or two. But he's got an extra mouth to feed in the house, so maybe he'll certainly, maybe need to use those breadsticks in handy. But, Jason Fiscina, I've spoken a lot about you, and I know we'll speak a lot tonight. Really, I look at tonight as a celebration, long overdue, a long overdue celebration of a man who has gone out each and every day selflessly to help better the lives of others. The wins on the field have shown that. The wins off the field have shown that. You have been, as I continue to state, a great husband, father, mentor, teacher, role model, everything in the book, player, anything else you could think of, and maybe even softball. I'll remind you one more time. But I can go on and on and on about you. And as a matter of fact, I probably have. I've probably gone on and said too much about you. You'll probably say, Tom, I'm never going to come back on this platform where you have to wait another year. But I wanted this to be a special moment because, as I stated, March 5th was the day that cemented your legacy. But I truly feel that tonight, on this day, April 17th, 2024, your legacy will now forever be cemented as you will be in our Hall of Fame and hopefully in the first of many Hall of Fames. As a matter of fact, I know that's going to happen because very soon at some point toward the end of next month, that 2021 Five Towns men's soccer team, which went all the way to the USCA National Championship game and was number one in the country, is going to get their chance to be permanently cemented in the Hall of Fame. But before we do that, as I've stated, Coach Fiscina, I have gone on and on and on about you. I probably missed a number of different things that we've talked about here throughout 13 or 14 minutes in this introduction. And actually, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to actually make this the longest introduction in sports by radio history of our previous Hall of Famers, because now I'm actually going to make you wait another minute or two, because actually I was thinking about this. I wanted this to be the most special one. I wanted this to be the one where people remember for a long time, because, as I stated, Jason, before I give you that introduction, officially congratulate you and put you in the Hall of Fame, I don't think I'd be here, and I don't think Sportswire Radio would be what it is today if it wasn't for you, Jason Fiscina. So this is why this is a special moment for me, and I hope it's a special moment for all the people at Five Towns, all of your players, all of the people watching, including Dane Johnson, and maybe even Coach Guardieso. I'm wondering, where is Coach G? Maybe he's on diaper duty. But as I've stated, I can go on and on about you. We'll do that over the next hour or so, but I think, Coach, it's officially time to introduce you as the 65th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, 5th member of our 7th class, but most importantly, where it counts, the first coach to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Now, Coach, before you get that official congratulations, you have to get that introduction. I've thought about it all day today because I listened to our first interview over 4 years ago, and you said, wow, Tom, nobody's introduced me like you did. Well, I think this at times 10. I think I wore out a little bit of my Brooklyn accent then because I think I've gotten a lot better over the years since then. But it's time to officially introduce you. Let's give you that introduction and put you in the Hall of Fame because now I think people are saying, Tom, let's get this show on the road. So with without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one, sports show. Definitely sound on there. The newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Our first coach to be inducted. The fifth member of our 7th class. And our 65th member. He is the head coach of the Five-Town Sound men's soccer team. The assistant athletic director of the purchasing department. And the brand new head coach of the U.S. Amputee men's soccer team. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to none other than Jason Fiscina. Coach, congratulations. You're officially the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame and our first coach to be inducted. Congratulations.
Tom, I'm truly honored. Every time I'm on here, the introduction, you find a way to up it a level all the time. But I'm honored again for the kind words. You left me speechless. Thank you again, and I'm looking forward to talking to you for a little bit.
Was it the Jason Guardiaso reference? Was it the Olive Garden reference? Was it the reference? Was it the
you found a way
reference?
You found a way to get everything in there. I'll hear about the Pez reference probably by the end of this, if not first thing in the morning. So that'll be the first one. But Guardiaso will probably call as well. But listen, you nailed it. So thank you. It means a lot to me, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you tonight.
We have a lot to talk about, but I really wanted to say that I know Guardiaso wanted to be the first coach in the Hall of Fame, but he's probably on diaper duty right now. But in all seriousness, and I know a lot of people that want to say hello. I'm going to get to people. I actually have a couple of things I want to present to you. There's one thing you actually don't know I'm going to present to you, but it's going to be a little special. But I really wanted you to be the first coach. I mean, listen, I've had a lot of great coaches over the years. Coach Flores has been on here in the past, obviously. Ryan Highland's been on here, although I really couldn't bring Ryan Highland on after like a 1-50 season. We love Coach Highland, but the fact is Coach Guardiaso's been here. Obviously, Coach Drizel, Coach Jakes has been on here, Coach Litwin. But really, when I think about the one constant every year that I've been doing this, you've always been here. You've always supported Sportswire. You've always used your players to allow them to come on here and talk about themselves, talk about the team. You've always said, Sportswire, let's come on to Sportswire, even though really it's changed. I mean, I've changed from when we spoke 4 years ago. I was a podcast on SoundCloud. I had choppy audio and, my accent sounded more like I was from Brooklyn than I am now. And, but really because of your belief and your belief of the platform, you're here to where you are and I'm here to where I am. So I think really to me, I couldn't think of a better person to be the first coach to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I just, want to say thank you for all of your support, especially along with Matt Gershio, obviously, Coach Drizel, obviously Coach Jakes, Coach Litwin. Coach Litwin's one of my favorites for some different things in the wrestling world. I won't get into that here live, but Coach Herring, when she was here, Thomas O'Keefe, he was a big supporter. I know we never got him on, but he was great, obviously, off the air to speak with just all the players, everybody here. And, I just wanted to obviously, make this a special one and just, say thank you for your support, really, over the years. And I, really could not have got a chance to speak with some great people through yourself, like obviously Mr. Pez, the worldwide Pez collector, Dane Johnson, and Coach Palazzolo, and everybody talks about Coach Palazzolo all the time. As a matter of fact, a lot of the wrestlers that they come with, I saw your interview with Coach Palazzolo. I saw the clip on Instagram. I saw the statement on Facebook, and that was because of you. And obviously, Petro. I could go on all day about him. Maybe we'll put him in the Hall of Fame next, but he's so busy. He's probably, eating Italian food as we speak. But Coach, it's obviously a great honor to have you. And I should formally ask you the first question before we get into a number of different things. What does it mean to you now to be in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
It's obviously a special accomplishment being the first coach in here. What you guys have done, and for us as a program, as a young program, you guys have been a big part of our success in regards to getting our exposure out there. And we couldn't have done what we have done without that. And it's given our student athletes an opportunity to get out there and, have a real live interview experience and share their stories, which is something that I've always taken pride in, getting guys on here to speak with you, Tom, and tell their stories. So that's what this is about. We have so many great guys that come from such dynamic backgrounds.
Oh my God. Some of the people, we've got a chance to speak with, whether it's Robbie Munoz, the Wongs, whether it's Chavez, I think about Sebastian Montenegro, and even guys you've had, William Rivera. I just think about so many different people that you've had here at Five Towns, and we've gotten a chance to speak with them. And certainly the likes of Jordan Tobin. I had to mention Jordan Tobin. Jordan Tobin she really, is about to put this school really forever on the map. Because of you allowing us to speak with all of these great people, it's unbelievable that we get a chance to speak with them and that they want to come on here and they enjoy coming on here. That's, we love that.
That's the truth. And it's never a rough thing. It's, hey, let's get on there, and they all want to do it. And it's been a great platform for them. So Tom, thank you. And in regards to the Hall of Fame, I guess I'll talk to Et tomorrow a little bit at 6 a.m. because he's obviously a Malloy Hall of Famer, to see how life changes after that. But for me,
well, it's funny. It's funny. I got to say this, and I know there's some comments, and I want to present to you something, and I want to talk about obviously the big news, which happened on March 5th, and tie that into some other things here going into the Five-Town season. Some of the Hall of Famers on the platform here, it's been like, we had one of my guests yesterday actually had the plaque hanging up as I'm speaking with him. Some of the other people have got it framed, and other people are like, well, we've had so many other people in the Hall of Fame. So it's like it's kind of such a cross section of some of the different people that are in the Hall of Fame and what they've thought about it. But I definitely wanted you here, and I think while I want to do it now, I actually want to present to you something that officially congratulates you in the Hall of Fame. I know Coach Gordieso is here, and he wanted to say, can't we get better guests than Fiscina? Well, we're not bringing on Ryan Highland. Ryan Highland was like 1 in 50 this year. I love Coach Highland, but I can't bring on somebody. I can't induct somebody in the Hall of Fame after like a 1 in 50. I love all the John Jay guys, John Perez, everybody there at JJ, but I can't induct him for like a 1 in 50 season. So also, by the way, Coach Fiscina gets in this Hall of Fame before Marquardt does. I don't think Marquardt's in a Hall of Fame. So how about that?
Oh boy, I'm no comment.
I'll save that for when Gordieso is here, because he still works at Malloy. So I'll save the tough questions for him there, because I'm sure. He mentioned Marquardt. Well, you missed a lot yesterday on the show because I basically went off, but this is not the kind of show. But I wanted to present to you this, which officially congratulates you in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. You have my John Hancock. Yes, it's such a thing. You have today's date, my logo. It's a real certificate, and I'll send that. I actually sent it to you anyway.
I got it already.
You were the first, and you were the first Hall of Famer that actually got it before it went on there. Usually I say, well, can I give it to you? And most of them say, yeah. Although one of my guests, who is he's a big like video game impersonator. He does like all types of announcing. He was like, well, I don't know if I should get it. I'm like, well, you're getting it, Captain Obvious. So, but we obviously wanted you to have it first because you mean so much to us. So I wanted to put this on the screen. I want to get to some plugs here. And obviously, I want to say hello to Mr. Dane, because he said Coach is speechless. That's impossible. Yeah, you know what? I have known you a while, and it is impossible. I think it's pretty impossible that you're speechless. But maybe that's after you're, beating some people on the softball field. Maybe that's when you're more speechless. But that's a different conversation for a different time. I want to say hello to one of my buddies here, Mr. Skulls. Of course, Skulls is in the Hall of Fame out there from California. But Coach, obviously, we've certainly got some of that stuff in the bow, but I want to talk about obviously some current events. And it's always good to have you here because usually I have to wait till after the five-town season because you're kind of like very much, Derek Jeter, Yankees like, where it's like, okay, we're getting ready for the season. We're not going to come on until usually about a month or so after the season when we digest. But the reason you're here, in addition to being into the Hall of Fame, is that something really cool happened on March the 5th here, and that you became the head coach of the United States amputee men's soccer team. Let me repeat that for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all sports matter. You are now the head coach of the United States amputee men's soccer team. And for those listening out there, as I change the banner here shortly, because I forgot we're not doing wrestling tonight, I wanted to ask you, Coach, what did that mean to you on that date, March the 5th, 2024, where you were named the head coach of the United States amputee men's soccer team?
I honestly, being offered the job before that, and that they were working on a press release, I knew it was a decent sized deal. But from the reaction of everyone around me, from my local friends to people I haven't spoken to in years, it kind of, I hate to say this, but it almost went viral in a way. Like
I saw you had 500 likes on Instagram.
I didn't realize what it meant to other people. Like, I didn't realize what a big deal it was. Obviously, it's a big position for my career perspective.
Sure.
In the coaching thing, it's going to give me an unbelievable opportunity to coach on the international stage. But I definitely didn't realize it until the news came out what a big deal it actually was. The whole process, I interviewed, I want to say late January,
Okay.
didn't hear back right away. And then when they offered me the job, I'll be fully transparent. I wasn't 100% sure. I have two little girls at home. It's very difficult, coaching and how much time you are away.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
I had a long conversation with my wife, and we actually were to the point where, like, you know what, maybe this isn't the time to do that. And right before I made the call, I'll give her a lot of credit. She was like, no, you're going to hold off on that. You need to take this. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you got to go for it. So credit to her for, and it's not easy, being, going or now being away
We
more,
spoke about
going on.
that here in the past,
Yeah,
even with the five-town team, and when you were
it's not
doing both
easy.
the men's and women's soccer teams. I mean,
Yeah,
it's really like
it
it's
is.
not
It is.
easy.
It is, and don't get me wrong, the moments of watching Lauren around our men's and women's team is unbelievable. The fact that her two jerseys that she owns a five-town soccer Jordan Tobin and a five-towns basketball Jordan Tobin jersey. I cannot tell you the impact Jordan's had on her. When Lauren grows up, she wants to be all these things, but she wants to be like Jordan. I mean, it makes you almost speechless, and anyone who knows Jordan and the person she is and what she does, like, there's no better role model. So for those moments, those are great. And having her come to training and having her come to games and seeing them after games is great, but it's a lot of time away. It's a lot of sacrifice, and it's difficult. So to put another monkey wrench in there and say, okay, we're going to coach another team on top of it, is not. And remember, this is all part-time, this is,
Oh, we spoke about it with
part-time.
Dave. This is
Yeah.
not a paying position. This is a job that you also, real talk for a second, to quote what I said on Sportswire last night, you have a job. You're a New York City public schools teacher. You have the soccer team. You're also an assistant athletic director in purchasing in five towns. This is like you have a lot of hats that you're juggling, and it's not easy. And this is not this is a job. It's a very serious position. It's a tremendous honor, but it's a lot of work, and you have a young family, and you want to see them grow up, and you really did this. And I could understand that there might have been some pause for, is this something I want to do? Because you have two daughters at home. You have a wife that you want to be able to spend time with them as much as possible, and they certainly want you to cut down into softball playing, and this would certainly maybe hopefully put a crip in that from their standpoint. But the fact is that this is a big commitment. This is a big commitment, and I could understand the pause maybe.
Yeah, but to be clear, though, it was a great decision. When and we'll
Fantastic
talk
decision.
about going down to Georgia and the rooms and the people I was able to meet and network with, and more importantly, the athletes I get to work with are absolutely fantastic. It's a very rewarding position. I'm looking forward to growing that team, and we'll talk more about it. But at the end of the day, again, you think things are going to be a minor big deal, and then when it actually happens and you see the outpouring, that's why I'm always very thankful for the support I have, both with my family, my close friends from home, my work buddies who now you're very tight with. I'm very lucky for the support system that I have, and I always consider them part of this journey that I'm on, so I'm very thankful.
Let me ask you a question. I'll get to comments here in a second. And I'm curious, in this job, with this role and these responsibilities as coach, how do you anticipate it being different than what you've done here at Five Towns with the men's soccer teams?
Well, I think, there's going to be some similarities, obviously, but,
Sure.
you're on the international stage now. You're dealing with grown men rather than at Five Towns. You're dealing with high school kids that you're trying to mold them to become men. So it's a little different in that regard. It's a little bit more, how do I say this? It's more, I don't want to say demand. It's just a different type of leadership. Like, whereas at Five Towns, again, you're dealing with that kid that you're kind of growing into a man, where now you're coaching men, and you have to mold them into, they see things one way, and it's like, well, I'm in the real world. Whereas when you have a college kid and you're trying to tell them about, you can kind of speak to, well, this is what's going to happen in the real world. So there's a little bit of that. You're coaching guys that are older than you. There are guys on the team that are older than I am.
How does that make you feel, though? That's interesting. That I hadn't realized that you're actually coaching players that are older than you. Like, what's that like? Because you've been at Five Towns all these years, and you're like almost like a second father. I mean, we've heard the guys come on here and like they've talked about you like being like a father to them, and now you're coaching guys that are older than you. That's got to be like weird in a sense, no?
It is, and I actually could tap back to my previous experience being on Coach Marquardt's staff at Malloy.
Sure.
When I was hired, there were guys on the team that were older than me. I was fresh out of college. There was a few kids finishing up, and the biggest thing is to just be real and be credible, and having your credibility and what you're saying, will resonate if you're credible. If you're not, they're going to see right through it. So that's where they can sense when you're just throwing a bunch of lines at them, or, you got to really be credible in what you say and really bring the facts with you. So like what I've done, jumping into this job, there's two captains on the team from the previous coach, and there's some other players that through the camp I could see are leaders on the team. And what I've done is I've met with them one-on-one via Zoom, talked about what's gone well with the program, what needs to improve, where they want the program to go. And, as an Italian guy, it's actually, it's funny, Johnson mentioned me being speechless. I've really done less talking in those meetings because I want to hear from them. I want to hear what their experience is. And then from there, foster how we're going to put maybe my philosophy into what works. I think that's what's important. For me to come in and say, hey, we're all going to do this way because I said so, it's not going to work.
That's different, and that's different at Five Towns. I mean, knowing you've been on here a bunch of times, as I stated. It was that's totally different than at Five Towns. It's kind of like they're looking at you. Okay, Coach Fiscina, like, what are we going to do? Guys also look to you because you obviously were a player, played in the NCAA tournament. You obviously were at a big school at Malloy compared to where we are at Five Towns. So almost like, and then also you're recruiting. Whereas here, it's like, like you said, these guys have jobs. They've been playing. They've got they've helped with different life experience. So it's almost like you can't have the same role almost.
How do I talk to a guy about competing in the World Cup when I've never coached a World Cup before?
Right.
These guys have had World Cup caps. They've competed internationally at the highest stage. So for me, it's just coming in with what we've built at Five Towns in my experience and bringing that soccer philosophy and the family and all that stuff is coming, but trying to hear from them. So I'm really looking forward to actually Monday. We have our Gold Cup tryouts in June. Everyone who's trying out for the team is getting on a Zoom call. We're going to set some expectations, create a little hard hat mentality. We're going to go over some film as well. So I'm looking forward, and that's sort of what we're doing right now to prepare for the tryout camp in June, which hopefully will, be at Five Towns, but we're still working through the details with that. So that'll be cool to have
one more question on this, and I actually have a good question from Mr. Dane, and I want to say a little. It's one of my buddies, Chris Parkhurst, out there is tuned in. Chris, thank you for tuning in. But I want to ask you this. Okay, so you've got the job, you've had it for a little while. I'll ask you about Rome, Georgia in a little while, but let's say having this post, right, and obviously working with these players, and they've obviously had such a fascinating journey. They've had such fascinating experiences. So how will you use what you're doing here with the United States amputee men's soccer teams when we get back on the field in about 3.5 months from now at Five Towns? We go back to camp in 3.5 months. So it's like we're not that far away. So how will you use what you're doing here to kind of help us get back over the hurdle where we want to be in 24 here at Five Towns?
I think anytime you're coaching and have an opportunity to coach, you're growing as a coach. You're getting around different situations. You're learning different things about the game. And I think having that experience with the U.S. team, it's just going to make me a better coach. It's just going to make me, have a little bit more, soccer IQ, a little bit more better understanding, because you're always learning. I think any coach who says they stop learning, they're full of it. Even,
I think it's anything in life.
Anything in life. You got to be a lifelong learner,
100%. I always remember what my dad said when I was playing guitar. I wasn't very good at the guitar, but he was always like, there's always somebody better than you, and you're going to learn from somebody. So if you're not learning, you're not going anywhere. So that's an excellent point. I'm actually going to plug the U.S. amputee men's soccer team on the big screen here in a second. But before I do that, Mr. Pez Man, Mr. Worldwide Pez Collector, the number one worldwide Pez Man, who should be on the Howard Stern show, by the way, not on the Sports World. But we want to bring him on Sports, but Howard Stern should talk to him. This is a good question. It's actually a great question. I was going to ask you about this, but I'll let Dane ask it because, Dane's going to be back on the show real soon. How do you balance all these coaching responsibilities with your side gig as a teacher? It's a good question.
Here, it's he warned me he was going to throw this question out there, and as a union rep, I don't really, he's one of our union reps. I don't think he really should be asking this, but that's no story for another.
What's wrong with being a union rep?
No, nothing wrong. I'm just saying he's putting me on the spot here. But
okay. Well, I hope we're not going to the UFT on this one.
No, we're definitely not.
I was like, thank God.
No, luckily for me, I have about an hour commute in the morning and an hour commute in the afternoon. And how do you get through city traffic? For me, is I get on the phone and I'm calling constantly. So I get a lot of my work done, before and after. Sometimes during lunch, listen, things come up. I'm not going to be the first one. I'm on my lunch break and I'll deal with some stuff. But that's how I'm juggling. And a lot of it is also too, after Lauren goes to bed, this 8 to 9 o'clock spot is a nice spot to have team meetings and all that stuff. So that's sort of how I've been handling it. I have my little USA notebook where I'm writing everything down to keep that organized.
That's pretty cool, though.
Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, listen,
pretty cool stuff. Listen,
I think that's more cooler than the certificate, by the way.
Oh, listen, I mean, so it's a funny story. Eric Lamberg, the president, the person I'm taking over for.
Yep.
He said, I got to stop over your house like a week before. I got to give you something, and I'm like, what could it be? And it was like he gave me a handful of just like gear, and anyone who knows me, I'm a gear nut. So I was like, wow, this guy, like, from polos to shirts, jackets, like I've been wearing USA soccer stuff now like all the time. So so in regards to juggling it, it's definitely, it's a challenge, but obviously teaching is my full-time gig, and it's, it's one of those things where people are like, okay, so you're gonna stop teaching, and it's like, no, like I need to put food on the table for my family. These coaching opportunities are cool and it's great, but it's not enough to put, food on the table. So obviously,
I know.
teaching is going to be what I do.
And it's so tough at this level, as we're speaking here with the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, our first coach in the Hall of Fame, of course, Jason Fiscina, probably our biggest supporter ever in Sportswire Radio history. And, it's so, as we talk about all the time, whether you're a D3 coach and an athlete or, it really, it's a great thing to say on the resume, but unfortunately it's not going to put, dollars in your pocket. So you have to obviously juggle the responsibility. Obviously, unlike me, you have a wife and kids to provide for. So that's obviously something that you have to look for. And, it's certainly different if you were doing this and you didn't have those things, but you have to juggle those responsibilities. And I think you'll do a great job from them. I mean, I was curious, since you also brought up, Dr. Lamberg, I mean, what advice has he given you?
He's been great. He's been very supportive. He's like, we're not going to throw you to the wolves and not, support you. He's like, we're going to gradually do this. That's why they really wanted me to go down to Georgia, just so I could see what it is to run a camp. And it's not just the soccer side of things. And when I interviewed with them, I mentioned, and I tell this to people all the time, everyone thinks it's all about the on the field stuff. That's like 5% of the job. It's all the off the field, getting things organized, getting things, really set for training and everything. So Eric's been fantastic in regards to showing me, how we have to get vans to get guys from the airport. Guys are traveling in from all over the country. It's one thing when, they come from Five Towns and they, move to campus. This is, they're coming in from all over, from California, from Texas, from Chicago.
When we spoke with Paige, it was like we had people that were on the team from all over the United States. We're
Yeah,
always like, oh, well, Queens to Long Island so far, but really it's not when you talk about
no.
players from all over the country.
And that's been a big eye opener for me. Is just how much this is a true like national team. Now we have a strong regional team in the metro area, and New England has a strong group too, which is why the Northeast is a nice location for us to run camps, because a lot of the guys can get here via driving rather than flying and all that, because it's all a cost thing. So Eric's been
Sure.
instrumental, and I'm very thankful that he's given me this opportunity. And I really enjoy working with him, and he's been very proactive in what works, and he's letting me be myself as well. He's not one of those like, hey, he might tell me how he's done something, but he's not looking for me to be him. He knows that I'm going to be different. And, it's just, he's been fantastic.
Absolutely, and I want people actually, while you're here, I would like you to support the U.S. amputee soccer team. They're on Instagram, so if you're on Instagram, which I know you are, make sure you check them out. Also, check out the women's team because, of course, Coach Palazzolo was on here. Thanks to Coach Fiscina, and want to make sure everybody supports both teams. And anything you can do, whether it's like a page, follow them, whether it's you want to give a donation. I've done that already in the past. Whatever it is, go out and support the teams. They go out here and do it for the right reason. They do it. As one of our Hall of Famers said, to paraphrase him, they do it for the true love of soccer. This is for the love of this sport. That's why they're here. It's not like they're making millions of dollars. They're here because they care. They want to do it. And that's what the mark of a great coach is. That's why Jason Fiscina is our first coach in the Hall of Fame, because he is somebody, and he is the true definition of a great coach, because a coach is caring, selfless, and will do it for others. And Coach has always been there for so many people, and that's why we want to always make sure that we support Coach. And I actually have something to support the team in a few minutes, which I'm going to bring up here on the screen very shortly, but I'm going to pull this off the screen. That's the Instagram page. We'll pull up some more links shortly, but I did want to ask you in terms of Coach Palazzolo. I mentioned Coach Palazzolo. Coach was here a few months ago, and what a story she has. And have you asked her for any advice on handling the job? Because like you, she has multiple roles that she deals with in the game of she does futsal and soccer and plays other things. Have you asked her for advice in any way?
Well, I mean, she's the mastermind, off the record, mastermind behind this whole thing of me even applying for the job. She was, when the job came open, she's like, you need to apply. And I'm like, Paige, I'm not looking to complicate my life. And she's like, no. And she kept saying, like, no, you're the guy for this job. Like, you have to understand with your experience, you'll be perfect. And the time commitment, like, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm like, Paige, I have 2 children. She's like, no, listen, you can do it. Like, she really was instrumental in me applying. So we are in constant communication. We actually were together last night. We went to go check out an apparel company that is interested in working with 5 towns and possibly, the amputee group. So, I mean, she's been, without her, and she's actually still going to be on staff as the goalkeeping coach for the men. So she's going to be very much involved. And again, we're talking daily now. She's now in the Rolodex of the 6 a.m. or the 2:30 phone calls that I make. Gordiesel still gets his call at 6:35. Him and Litwin, usually call at the same. They haven't learned yet to call.
I understand Litwin because Litwin's he's on the women's side.
Makes sense.
Gordiesel, so why is Gordiesel getting 6:35 calls? I want to know what could he do? Is he checking in on something about Olive Garden that he needs more breadsticks? Does he need what is it that he's calling you at 6:30? No, serious. This is a serious question for a second because I know Gordiesel will be back. We will put him in the Hall of Fame when he has time and when he gets permission. We love Coach G, but he has to get permission. You don't have to get permission because your athletic director loves Sportswire because they've been with us for many years. But what is he calling you at 6:35 for? I can understand Litwin, but tell me why Gordiesel is calling at 6:35.
Usually to bust my balls about something or something I shared or, just to talk. And listen, I'll be honest, like our relationship, has grown over the year. I love
Coach Gordiesel though, actually.
And he's a good dude. And the fact that he is at a program that I used to be at, he'll kind of call sometimes to just say, hey, how would you handle this? Just little things like that. And I'll kind of vent with him. And that's important to sometimes have that because you don't want to always be venting to the same people all the time. And you don't want to vent to necessarily someone that works at the same school as you. So it's nice to have that rapport. But it is funny.
Has he asked you for baby advice?
No, he hasn't actually. I don't really
Really?
think he's gonna. Well, I don't really think he's gonna. All he's gonna do is put the basketball in the kid's hand. He's not changing. Don't let him confuse you that he's changing diapers. He's not doing that. There's
No,
no shot. No,
he's
no. He's got to go to the gym. Then he's got to work, and then he's got to go in the
well,
transfer
he's got
portal.
we know he's
He's got
got
no
well, we know
time.
he's got coin in the bank because his real job
Yeah,
is,
yeah. He's got
those are
money.
people I know
Yeah.
very well in the world,
Oh yeah, he's doing well. He's not a New York City school teacher. He's doing very well. So today he sent me pictures. I think he was in some VIP section at the Met game today. He
Well,
hasn't realized that. I'm a Yankee
I
fan.
actually had a better idea. Obviously we know he's done very well in the world, like very well financially. Now
Yeah,
we always, I'm going to pull the website up in a second, but
yeah.
have you asked him with maybe some fundraising help?
Oh, I have it, and that's
That's
going
a
to
good
be something
question.
that's definitely good. Because listen, the U.S. team, we're going. The men are going to be playing in the Gold Cup
Yep,
in Honduras in the middle of September, and our women in November are going to be in the first amputee women's
I
World
saw
Cup,
that.
and it's a big deal. And
And
listen,
I'm
there's
one of the
probably
donors, by the way. I made sure I supported. I always support everybody that comes on, and the men's team's next. I'm going to give a donation as well when we're off the air. So I always try to support those that come on here. And you ask Paige off the air, she's going to say, Tom supported me. Tom supports. So, I always make sure. So I figured with Coach, though, now I know I have coin in the banking, but Coach has also coin in the bank. So I thought that it might be good to ask if Coach could certainly help because he's got a lot of powerful connections, I know, in the world.
I think he could help out. Honestly, he's got enough connections. He could just help out with the U.S. team. That would be a good starting point. But then after he does that in the fall, in the springtime, I think there's a shooting machine at Five Towns. I think we could have the Gaudieso shooting machine. He could donate to that too. I think he could help both programs out. Tom,
You
great.
know what? I mean, I am certainly all for it, and I'm sure Coach is here. He is red in the face like that he has never been before. He's more red right now in the face than when he was an assistant at CCNY, and he was struggling there. And those guys they only won, I think, 2 games in the conference that year or something like that. So he's right now so upset at me right now. He's like, I thought we were friends.
To be fair though, about that CCNY team, Sean had that team. They were close in
I covered that team.
every game. They were
I
like
know.
one possession away from winning.
Yeah,
It was like one of those things.
I watched them at John Jay when John Jay was good, and they almost beat them. So
They were
listen,
big time.
that team, I think they lost like 7 games by 5 points or some crazy stuff. Listen, they were a good team. Yassine Saki, congratulations to you. You had a great career.
Yeah.
But no, there's no question that Coach is still red in the face right now. There's still no question.
Yeah,
about it.
and listen, if he does make those donations, I will return the favor and I will take him to Northport's Rob Key's nice little Italian restaurant rather than the Olive Garden that he thinks I frequent too. So I'll take him there, and he'll deal with that.
I think that he was trying to imply that you were a fake Italian. I think is that what he was trying?
And he's got no idea. Come on, he's got no idea.
Well,
so
you know what?
It's all good.
I want to put an idea up there. I want people to actually support the U.S. Amputee Soccer Association because I have the website up. Because since you've last come on, I've even improved with getting share the screen. We've got links in the background. So
Very
we've really
impressive.
gone the extra mile. So I want to make sure if you're out there, you can support all the players here, all the different things out there. They're a great group of people. They go out there, the girls and the guys, and they do so many great things for the community. They're out there and they do this for the love of this sport. It's always all sports matter on Sportswire. It's always, all things like this are why people do it for the right reasons. We always want to support those that support us. Get involved. Go support them. Huge shout out to Coach Palazzolo. Thank you for all she does for the game and the community like Coach does. I also want to say hello to one of my buddies, Mr. Andrew Lovelace out there. Andrew's one of my guys out there. He does a great job in the ring, outside the ring. He's a DJ. Maybe he can DJ a U.S. amputee soccer charity event sometime. But let's certainly not get too far ahead of ourselves. But obviously, I wanted to keep this on the screen for a minute or two. But, let me ask you, though, obviously a question I haven't asked, which I should have. What are your goals here with the U.S. amputee men's soccer team?
It's just to continue growing the game and for us as a country to become as competitive as possible and reach heights that we've never reached before. Just like, our U.S. men's national team, your goal is to win a World Cup. And, in this country, it's never been done before. I think with our group, we have a very solid group. I think the biggest thing is developing some depth. I think now from our starting 7 perspective, we can compete with anyone. But a big thing, in watching film is getting our 7 to a strong 15, which is what we're allowed to roster, and having strong. And it's the same thing with the U.S. men's national team. So, and that's a big thing, is to, bring home a World Cup on the men's side. And on the women's side, obviously we've had a lot of success, but that's the goal. And, obviously the next World Cup is in 2026. So we have some time, but obviously our first tournament is the Gold Cup in the middle of September. And, anytime you go to a tournament, your expectation is to win it, and that's what we're going to try and do. And we're going to do it as a family. It's now 7 hearts beating as one, because that's
I was going to ask you about that. The 11
it's 7. It's 7. It's 7.
Here.
It's 7, because we only are allowed to play with 7. But obviously, even that number, it's really the whole squad, beating together as one, and, creating a family environment. And, that's what we're looking to do. And I'm so lucky to have this opportunity to coach, and I'm very thankful, to coach at such an, I even just going down to Georgia, having that experience, I cannot begin to imagine how I'm going to feel, when the national anthem, Eric has kind of shared with me, he's like, I can't wait for you to sense how it feels when, right before kickoff, they're playing the national anthem and you're coaching a U.S. national team. That's when I think it's going to really hit. Right now it's still kind of like, you can't really believe it yet.
It's funny you said that, because you played in the NCAA tournament. You've been in the USCA, the national championship game. You've been in the USCAs. We've won the HVIAC. We've been number 1 in the country. But yet, does any of that prepare for? You've had a lot of success. Yeah. 5 times. So no, tell me why.
I don't. I mean, I think anytime you're on the international stage, I think I don't say it didn't prepare. It does prepare, obviously.
I mean, we were in the national championship game a few years, number 1 in the country, that winning streak, and that was a big deal. I mean, that doesn't help at all.
It does, but I mean more of just like me personally, thinking I would ever coach on the international level, more of like that shock. Like, it's still hasn't hit me yet that I'm actually going to be coaching, the U.S. team in an international tournament. Like, that's still an unbelievable feat from where we were, in 2018, where it was like build a college soccer program. I was a high school coach to go from there.
When we spoke the first time, it was like you were standing there with Gershio and like, can we do this? And it was like, all right. And then it was like all these years later, we did it so quickly. And then obviously the program just, I mean, everything's grown really through that men's soccer team in 21. But yeah, I mean, it was just, I'm sure it's different than this, is no question.
That's where, obviously all your experiences prepare you, to take on the next thing. But, to do it on the international stage is still something that's, not thinking. It's funny, even Eric, like flying in, it's like, well, you got to get this sort of like check pass thing, because you're going to be flying a lot more. And it's like, I haven't been on a plane that much. I'm used to just standard, go through the security things. Like, no, you got to get this now, because you're going to waste too much time. I'll meet you on the, again, I'm used to going on a coach bus. Now we're flying on.
I remember we saw the pictures on Instagram. You guys are on the bus and everybody's out there, and, it's different now. I mean, it's just like, totally different experience. We complain, that commute from Queens to Long Island, or when we play in Maritime, and it's so far, or we go and play, different schools, whether it's Pratt or anybody else. But no, this is like almost like a walk in the park compared to what you're going to go through, but it's worth it. I mean, and that experience in Rome, Georgia had to have been like the most like eye-popping experience, right?
Yeah, and I was trying to tell him, like, hey, listen, let's walk, crawl before we walk. Like, it's rather recent and they're like, no, you really got to come down. And it was a great event because they had all the extended national teams there. So it was great to see all those other teams as well. And our guys got to mingle with them. And that was an unbelievable thing. And personally, I never thought there'd be a day where I would be meeting the CEO and the president of U.S. Soccer. And I didn't even know they were going to be there. And then, they show up, and the president's just so down to earth. She walks in and they're like, they pull me over and we talk, and she's like, oh, you're a teacher. She's like, what do you teach? And I said, I teach in the middle school. She's like, yeah, I could tell, us middle school teachers, we can handle anything. And it was just really cool.
You dealt with people like me, so you could probably, that's why you have it.
and Eric, after I spoke to her, Eric's like, yeah, that's one of those perks of the job that are really, really cool, that you're going to be in rooms with people that you never thought, a small college coach is going to be in the room with the president and the CEO of U.S. Soccer. Like, that's an unbelievable, life sort of thing to happen. It's just getting me. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like where I kept thinking about it today. We spoke, 4 years ago, and we spoke on the phone, and we spoke. And what I wanted to bring up in my speech tonight to induct you was we spoke and we got off the phone. I'll never forget it. When I hung up to do the interview with you and we finished it, they had announced that the NBA was folding, was to play due to COVID. The NHL followed a few hours later, and then baseball waited. But the world was about to stop because of COVID. And think to where we were then and to where you are now. You're the head coach of the United States amputee soccer team. I mean, think about, I just go back to that moment. I spoke to you was right before COVID. I remember we would speak at that time because it was COVID. Everybody had nothing to do. We would speak every, week or so. Hey, how's it going? Can we talk? So can we do something? Let's hope this season starts. But yet through all that resolve that you had and keeping your players, like I said, calm, cool, and collected, you had the 2021 season. You had certainly the win at Berkeley to build upon it. But now you're here and you're a head coach of the United States of America amputee soccer team. I mean, that's like, to me, that's very few people can say they're a head coach of a country. Very few people, like, ever.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, it still hasn't hit yet, and I don't think it will until, we're en route to Honduras and, we're out there for the first match. I think the ID clinics in the camps are going to be great, and I'm really looking forward, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do it at Five Towns and have them, sleep in the dorms and, train, and probably have my Five Towns guys come down. And that's kind of how this whole thing even started. To give you an idea, the head of the Metro amputee group is a guy named Jim Franks, is a guy that I was just playing pickup with weekly. And, during the pandemic, actually, we were playing a lot more because I obviously had more time. And, he spoke about how he was coaching this team. And I was talking about how Five Towns, I was trying to get this program off the ground. And he's been kind of followed the whole success together. And I got to see how he went from having like 4 guys to having like 15 guys at his workouts. And, we had a few Five Towns, New York Metro events where our guys got to, train with them, and our women played them. And that's kind of that's where I met Paige, and Paige kind of fell into my life. And now, Paige came over yesterday before we went, and she's playing basketball in the backyard with Lauren. So like, it's just crazy how life just kind of, people come into your life, and, you're not, it's when you least expect. I was never expecting that, this would happen. And then, things do. And now I'm very grateful for the opportunity to, represent, coach a team that's representing the United States of America. So
it's such a small world, and I actually want to present you something that's kind of special about that. But before I do that, I have to make you laugh. Has Coach Wells tried to, go off your coattails there a little bit? Mr. Coach Wells, obviously, I know it's kind of a sore subject there in some ways, you and Mr. Wells there. I know Mr. Wells obviously had one eye on those Islanders, by the way, but certainly Coach Wells, trying to go off the coattails there a little bit.
And what we're
I'm working on my questions tonight. I really was making sure.
Yeah, you're good. You mean with bringing Coach Wells on the U.S. team? Is that what you're asking about?
Well, has he tried to? Has he said, trying to, work it in there a little bit? Because,
listen,
obviously
all of them, when they heard about the travel, they all want to be a part of it. And then I remind them that, the salary is free, is you're not making anything. And, Wells has got a baby coming in August. And, listen, over time, there is stuff in the works, I've spoken with, Coach Lamberg, and, we are going to probably try to add Sebastian Montenegro from a video perspective, because he's really good with the video stuff.
I love him. He is
so I think he's, we're working to get him on staff. It's good for him, good experience, and he's kind of at the point of his life where volunteering is something that he's got the time to do. But, listen, I have a great staff over there right now, with the U.S. team. And I kept everything the same with Israel and Fabian as assistant coaches. And that's another thing, too, you brought about, how's this going to improve my coaching at Five Towns? The guy Israel trains Division I MLS players. Like, he's a very high-level guy. And, I learned already so much from him, and to have him on staff, I wanted to keep things as similar as possible. So, when I came on, Eric said, are you going to look and I said, honestly, for right now, let's keep who we have in, but are there people that, have reached out that I would love to add? Absolutely. Is Coach Wells going to be one of them? I don't think he's got the time, but, I'll never say
never. He might
never.
want to work on the softball skills a little more, basically.
listen, he's softball skills. He's still playing soccer multiple nights a week. So he's got soccer multiple nights a week, multiple softball teams. Like, I'm done playing. He's still like out there. Like, I might play on one team this summer, maybe, but like he's still playing ball, and God bless. So, for right now,
dream. He's chasing the dream. I mean,
I respect it, man. It's great. It's fantastic.
No, you know what? Listen, more power to him. But obviously, Coach, I wanted to do something a little special. I know I gave you a certificate already for you, but I actually wanted to present something a little special on behalf of the team. And, I would hope I could present it on the screen. Certainly, you don't know what this is. I would like to send it. I promise you this would actually be, I came up with it. I would hope that you would like me to show it on the screen, because I thought it'd be kind of a special thing to kind of recognize them. Also, obviously, recognizing you coming on here. But I wanted to do something a little special because it's a special day today. And shout out to Coach Greg Drizel. Mr. Drizel was hoping to be in the Hall of Fame first, but he'll have to wait until after you're done because you're here now. But we love Coach Drizel. But obviously, I would like to present to you something that, would maybe show our kind of appreciation, you might want to say, to everything that you guys do here with the amputee soccer team.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to make it special here on this date on all Sportswire radio platforms that it is U.S. National Amputee Soccer Team Day. So basically here, whether you're on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579, Twitch at Sportswire Radio, Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, my LinkedIn page or internet radio station, sportswireradio.org, Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. It is U.S. National Amputee Soccer Team Day. So I wanted to do something a little special.
Very sweet.
And, wanted to show everything.
That's really cool, Tom. That's really cool. And thank you. Obviously, you've always supported Five Towns, and already seeing what you've, supporting the U.S. team. And these really are some great, great, great individuals. Some amazing.
I was watching some of the stories when came on the first time. You're like, okay, these people I got to get behind. It's different.
Yeah.
You got to get behind them. It's just,
it really is. And if you are able to financially help, there's so many expenses that go into it. We don't want to have the guys, or all our female players paying for, airfare and all that stuff. So we do a lot of fundraising. So please, if you can, support our program. It's a great program to support, and you're going to be supporting some amazing, people. And if you can, it's just a great cause. And watching them compete is, and they love it. And I'll be fully transparent. They are some of the best athletes you'll see. I
saw some of the videos. I said it when Paige came. I'm like, these are better athletes than me. I mean, listen, they're fantastic athletes. I mean, for what they do, their dedication, their practice, their tenacity. I mean, how could you not support them? I mean, to me, it's just like, what they do to keep themselves ready, and despite all the obstacles, they're just tremendous athletes. They're tremendous individuals. And I would encourage everybody to support them, and certainly support them on Instagram, support them on YouTube, Facebook. We put the links here below, TikTok, you name it, go support the U.S. National Amputee Soccer Team, and especially one of our own here, our head coach, Mr. Jason Fiscina, who is now the head coach for not only them, but the Five Town Sound men's soccer team. He is also the assistant athletic director in the purchasing department, and he's also a teacher, by the way. I don't know what else he does. He still may play softball this summer. He's obviously a father, a husband. He's just a number of different things, but most importantly tonight, we inducted him here into our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame as our first coach. Couldn't think of a better coach to make that happen for, and my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. If you're here on YouTube, hit that sub button for us at Sportswire Radio 6579. Also support us on Twitch at Sportswire Radio, Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017, also via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org. We have an internet radio station where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content. I'll be back here tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, with the brand new AWL heavyweight champion of the world, ADT. And ADT is going to be here. He's got a lot to say, a lot to get off his chest. And he's had a very, very dominant last few weeks in the world of the AWL. They've been a great supporter of ours here. So I hope that people will support them at the Alliance Wrestling League on YouTube, Instagram. Their most recent episode is up. So please support ADT. He is also in our Hall of Fame. So ADT, I know, congratulates you, Coach Fiscina. And we are here with Coach Fiscina for a little while longer. So, Coach, I got to ask you, I mentioned Jordan Tobin. and I have to bring it up. I know you got to be proud about Jordan and what a big deal this is that Jordan is getting a pro tryout, and just talk about this, how big it is, not only for her, but really for Five Towns and as an athletics program as a whole.
You think of, and I saw this the other day, the number of kids, you go like from 400,000 high school kids to 4,000 playing college. And then you have from that maybe 15 kids get drafted into the NBA
Yeah, it's
or
like
even
31.
play in Europe,
Yeah.
30, whatever it is. Like, and then
Right,
that's talking like US, not even including international and all that stuff.
right,
The
right, right.
fact that she even got a tryout is an unbelievable accomplishment. Her and Petroselli, I believe, were trying to speak, or if they did speak, I'm not 100% sure, just to go through the journey, because it's not an easy one when you're not a Division I player, because that's always a label that kind of stays with you. It stayed with John. It stayed with the two other guys, Charlie and Jalen Morris, who I coached at Malloy.
Yep.
It's not
I remember
easy.
Jalen came up. Charlie, I
Yeah.
spoke to a few times off the air
Yes.
during
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, like it's not an easy journey, but the fact that she has the opportunity to explore it is an unbelievable, and it's just a credit to her. It's an unbelievable opportunity, and it's a credit to her. Coach Jocks has been absolutely fantastic for the women's basketball program, and
Oh my God,
getting
they
them
played
these
Army this
opportunities. They
past year.
played Army this year, and they
They
had
won.
Army
They won the
tight.
conference championship. They were in the
Yeah.
USCAA. I mean, he turned that team around from I don't even want to go there where they were to where they are now. I mean, he did like a phenomenal
Yeah.
job. He's right behind you. I mean, listen, he's a fantastic coach, and I mean, he's a great guy off there. I mean, I love Coach Drizel, but Coach Jocks will call me and he'll speak to me like out of the blue for like an hour and a half. I'm like, Coach, you sure you want to talk to me? I'm like, you sure? And he's like, no.
Yeah, no,
He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he was on with me tonight right before I was putting Matt on the bed. I actually was like, "Hey, Corey, I got to go," but we were on for about 20 minutes just talking shop about how to make the
Yeah.
whole program better. And that's the thing at Five Towns. It's a program. It's not just men's soccer or women's soccer. We're
I always
truly
got that vibe here. Whether when O'Keefe was here, Herring was here, and obviously Jeff being a
it
part of
has to be.
I just always got that feeling.
It has to be. So when Jordan's successful, we're all successful. When women's basketball is successful, we're all successful. So, Jordan having that opportunity, it's a credit to her and the hard work she's put in. And, I know she's going to do well with whatever she decides to do. Whether it's play professional basketball or whether it's, pursue a career and, something outside of basketball, she's going to do great. And
Damani Merritt, by the way, has been going down that road. He's playing, in a little bit of basketball still. And, I know Damani's had some success, and I'm sure that helps a little bit. But, obviously, John Petroselli's the GOAT of Hicksville, and he's still playing. And, do you think that John's advice can help Jordan? Because, John
Absolutely.
John is just, arguably, he's had a better career than guys in the NBA. Because he's still out.
He's playing on a national team right now. He's on the Italian national team, which is an unbelievable
thing.
And
overseas, he's had a great career. He was great in the developmental league, and he's been even better overseas. And, John's a guy that's made it.
He has, and he's actually even set himself up for when he's done playing. He's got his real estate license.
I saw that.
He's all set up, so he's done it the right way.
Well, he's one of the guys that's probably made some coin anyway. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. And, I look forward to I got to save the date for his wedding in July. It'll be a good time. But yeah, his story could definitely help out Jordan, because it's the whole underdog story of, you're going there without a reputation. You're going there with you play at the small school, and even, John was Division II. Jordan's like not even NCAA.
I know.
All that stuff. And it's just at the end of the day, what's great about sports is you roll that ball out. It doesn't matter what division you are. It doesn't matter what your natural ability is. You got to show it that night. And you play well, it doesn't matter.
John has done it. I think John has done it. Ryan Terrell is, been, oh my God. You can do it. Jason Brower was playing in Puerto Rico. He's been playing pro for a while. Doug Levy played a year, then went to Northwestern. So, you can be, it's not over if you're not in a D1 school. Those have been, especially John. John is obviously speaks for itself. So I think just Jordan doing that, it still helps us here at Five Towns. I know you're obviously here at Five Towns still, and I think it helps us so much that we have somebody like Jordan getting the try. Damani's been playing still as well. I think those things really help the program just by leaps and bounds.
100%. It helps with recruiting. It validates what you're doing, and it shows that you could get kids to a certain level, and it's important when you're building a program to show that you can build them on the court to get them to play at the highest level.
I know, obviously, and we've got a little bit more time with you. I don't want to keep you forever, but I wanted to ask you, with you now with 5 times? I know we're kind of probably toward the tail end of recruiting based on the timeline, but having this post, does that help you at all with recruiting?
Yeah, I think any sort of attention's good attention, as long as it's,
I mean,
on the
you're
positive.
in PR Newswire now. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, like, like I'll pull it up in the screen in a second, but you're actually in PR. I actually know PR Newswire because years ago, I was friends with a doctor who's the Beverly Hills plastic surgeon. Yes, the Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, Mr. Jay Calver, and he always gave, you got to go into PR Newswire. You got to get a press release in the PR Newswire, and you have one of those. I'll put it up in the screen shortly. But to have that, it's automatically like, yes, you've been on here and you're on the 5 Towns pages, and no question, it gives you credibility. But to have a press release from like that, it has to open up doors to recruits. You know what? Okay, I can go to 5 Towns now because he's speaking to me, and look where he is.
Yeah, without question, and it's helped, solidify and verify like what we're doing and what we're building over there, and people are recognizing it. So yes, without question, and it is going to be a good. I'm sure my 5 Towns players are going to probably get opportunities to be around national camps that other schools are not going to have that opportunity because their coach isn't on a national staff. So it is a good thing. It has opened up recruiting. And this year with the FAFSA and everything, recruiting has been so much later because kids don't know what they're paying for school. It's crazy. Now numbers are just starting to come out now.
Yeah, I did notice that this year that the
Yeah,
recruiting was like it's different because of the FAFSA situation.
it's a fast. Yeah, no one. Because think about it, you're going to go to a school and you're not going to know what you're paying yet. Like that's crazy. So those kids that are committing, you're kind of raising an eyebrow. Like, how do you know how much you're paying yet? So we're working through that, and there's some stuff behind the scenes that is going to come out in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, some realignment stuff at 5 Towns that are going to radically change some things for the better. So I'm looking
Well,
forward to that.
I think that stuff will sort itself out. I'm sure
Yeah.
that we'll certainly talk about that down the road. But I want to ask you one cool question on that, and I actually want to get to Mr. Dane because if I don't say something about Dane, I'm going to get lynched on that. But do
Yes.
you think in a way that the late situation with FOSFA can actually help us here at 5 Towns because
Yes.
you got the post recently, and now all of a sudden it goes, you know what? If I'm a guy or a gal that's thinking about coming here, you can certainly help, I'm sure, with the women's team in a way still because you obviously have a role with the with the athletic department still, but even so, let's just say even take a step back, go with the men's team for a second. If I'm a recruit and I'm not sure where I'm going to go, but because I speak to you and you're the head coach of, a United States soccer team, maybe I say, you know what? I can come to 5 Towns, or maybe 2 months ago when you didn't have the job, maybe they go to a CUNY, maybe they go to, Berkeley. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Do you think that
Yeah,
helps in a
no,
way?
I think it's very valid. I think it's and if I look back on it now, I think we've gotten some kids since the stories come out that are now coming through the woodwork that they want to transfer out from different schools or whatnot. So I think it definitely can help, and I think it's already starting to. So and I know our guys were even my returners were extremely excited when the press came out. They all reshared it. They all were really about it. So I think it is a good thing for 5 Towns. Some notoriety, some extra publicity and stuff is always good. So I think without question, when it comes to the recruits, yeah, I think it is helping us in the recruiting process and verifying that we are a legitimate school to go to, and that's needless to say because we've shown it on the field. But I
Oh,
think
I
it's
mean,
just
to
another.
me, I think
Yeah.
that's to me. Once 2021 happened, that the doors were blown off, and the wins we've
Yeah.
had against NCAA schools, there's no more talk of that. And I've said it here before: we're better than CUNY schools here. I mean, I really want to go there, but I do want to go to Mr. Dane Johnson because I have to bring something up here. So I mean,
Yes.
since he came on last, and you were here obviously before that. You have anything you might want to share conversely now about Mr. Johnson? Because I know I'm going to have him back here probably in the next week or two. So anything you might
Week or
want to
two.
share for? Yeah, he's coming back here real soon. I got to bring it. He
Oh.
wants to come back on. I got to bring him on. You
Yeah.
saying
No, it's good. No. I want you to bring
I
him
could
back
bring
on.
on Guardieso instead? I think we
No,
want to
hold
hear
on.
Dane, right?
Tom, you can bring on anyone. I'm excited to
No,
have Dane on.
I was
I'm
saying kind of facetiously.
Yeah.
Who would you rather hear first? I'm sure the Pez stories are more interesting than
I think the Penn stories, you get a little bit more press than, just another short guy from Long Island talking about basketball. I mean, there's a million of those guys. There's only one Pez guy. So obviously Dane's
Oh, I had
probably.
people, my mother actually listened to the interview. You should do more of that. I had friends of mine that, they listen to Sportswire, but it's got to be like a big moment. And one of my friends, also a fellow teacher, by the way, a fellow New York City public schools teacher, Steven Saperstein, said, Tom, when did you become like Howard Stern with this Pez guy? I mean, I had people actually tell me that. One of my
I
kids,
was, yeah, I was under the impression there was going to be some summer meetup where you were going to see
yeah,
the Pez.
I would do that too. I mean, I could do.
I just don't so I didn't realize you were
I
kicking
could
off
do
so
it.
quickly.
Listen,
So
I'll tell you
today,
what I could do is instead I could do the summer meetup and then meet you afterwards. How
at
about
Five
that?
Towns, that would be a great thing. So
I'll do that. I think that's a better idea.
You want a good Dane story for the good? So I'll
I
give
do
you
want a Dane story. I mean,
two good Dane stories.
Right now.
So here's two good Dane stories. So every year we have an end of term party, and every year our core group of guys have not gone to the end of term party. So this year to get it, because it's 4:30 to 8:30. We're all the way in Suffolk. It's closer by. So it's harder. So long story short, this year what they did was they put our faces on like guys with tuxedos on, and they said, because we eat bagels every Friday, and they were like, come to the end of term party and hang out with the coolest people, at 194, and it was all of our heads. So I'm we're like, we got to go now. Like, we got to go. And if you know Dane is very much, I call Dane Sheldon Cooper Johnson, because he's very OCD.
Yeah,
Dane's
I can see that.
Dane's like, I'm not going. So the secretaries are like, what's going on with the boys? I said, listen, I think you're going to get most of them, but the one guy who's holding out is Johnson. And I think what you got to do is you got to get Pez involved. If you get Pez involved, Johnson will go. So they gave him an individual invitation in his mailbox with pictures of Pez.
Oh, wow.
Now, all of a sudden, Mr. Johnson is going to go to the end of term party. So there you go. And then today, I'm teaching a lesson today, and all of a sudden, I see a little remote control car coming in my classroom, and it's Johnson across the way with the car. So this is the type of nonsense.
You're allowed to do that, by the way. You can do that.
It was the end of the period, and he just, just trying to listen. We try to have some fun.
I wish they had that in my school when I was growing up in Brooklyn. Listen, I might have paid attention more.
Listen, like, teaching middle school today and all the social emotional stuff that's going on.
I tell you what,
it's so important important to be able to connect with kids, not just about academics, but having those sort of moments where they can see you as not just a teacher, but as a regular person. So, whether it's Johnson with his Pez or me talking to kids about sports, it's very important if you're able to connect with the kids on that level, you'll be able to teach them about whatever subject, you're trying to teach them. So it is important. And, that's one thing. I used to teach 6th grade. Now I'm going down to the first floor. I've been teaching 8th grade this year, and it's been nice because Johnson is like, basically a room away from me. So I see a lot of Johnson, a lot of Johnson, a lot of Pez, more Pez than I ever want to see. So there's some Johnson.
Well, that's funny because when he sent the package, which I played on the air, I gave it to my nieces, and then I see that they got something for Easter. I saw, so I automatically, every time I think of Pez now, I think of the great Dane Johnson. Yeah, no, honestly, like, it's like totally like, I mean, he is like the worldwide. I call him the worldwide Pez collector. So I told him that I have to put him in the Hall of Fame for being a Pez collector, and I really think so. You know what? Because people have said, well, there's so many people already in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame anyway. So yeah, I have to put him in there. I have to enshrine him in there, because actually, I had people listen to that interview that said, I normally don't listen to you, but I'm back listening to you again. So I have to say. But my mother does not listen to the shows much. I mean, she sometimes listens now because I post them on Facebook, and she watches some of the clips. But like, his was like, wow, she sat there and was like quoting things. Wow, I was really, you had a Pez guy on there. One of my buddies, a fellow teacher, Steven Saperstein. Wow, Tom, you're like really good. I remember when you were on the phone and you sounded terrible when you interviewed me. Now you're like talking to Pez people. So,
I don't know if he's still watching, but if he is, and when he hears this, his head is going to be huge. And now it's going to be no more making fun of his Pez collection, because it's like, world renowned.
He's on Sportswire. Because first of all, on Sportswire, we had on the guy who wrestles for a company who has 1.3 million subscribers on YouTube. We actually had 2 of them. But also, we've had on a guy, Luke Leyland, who fought in Dombe in Africa. He's the only person outside of Africa to have fought in this thing, kind of like UFC. They have 500,000 plus followers on YouTube and Instagram. We get all these big time, wrestlers, and he probably sees one of my buddies, Danny Burns, played in the Final Four, was here after Dane. So he's like, well, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm in good company after all. So, I certainly want to make sure that, but I got to ask you before I get to closing thoughts here. We had the Wongs on here 2 weeks ago, and obviously I'm assuming we're going to be reunited with a lot of their players in 2021. We're going to put the team in the Hall of Fame next month, probably maybe before or after graduation, whatever you fit is best for everybody. But, when you see the success of the Wong brothers, obviously, Angel's been away for a little while, but Saeed's graduating, and, you're going to obviously lose some players. We spoke about this already, but, when you see players that you've had, you mentioned Montenegro. I go back to William Rivera, the first recruit, but when you see your players, though, having success off the field, that's got to make you most proud, though, more than like the wins and losses. No?
I mean, it's corny, and we say it all the time. The best day for us as a program is not anything on the soccer fields in May when, you watch them after 4 years graduate. And when you see them doing well, there's no better reward as a coach than to see that. And, with the Wongs, it's kind of crazy because everyone knows Five Towns is a music school. And it's just
You said that same thing when you came on the first time. I listened to it today.
It's, to think that now they're involved in music, it's just.
And they're a big deal. Listen, the clip on Instagram that I put out there got 3,000 plus views. 3,000.
Yeah, I mean, no, they have a following, and the music's pretty good. It does.
Yeah, I
come
tell
on
you,
the rotation.
on the air. I mean, I have one of my guys is a wrestler who also raps, and they were I would say they were comparable to him, and he's been putting out music for 4 years. He goes into the studio and cuts tracks, and it was really good, and they have a following.
And they do. They have a following, and they're good guys. And I think that's the biggest thing is
great guys. I remember when Angel came on here 4 years ago. I was talking about
when Adrian came out. Yeah, Adrian's a good kid, and he's been through a lot. And Saeed, they both have been through a lot. But to see them, and especially Saeed, a little nugget about Saeed. Saeed actually went to 194 where I teach for 2 months. I wasn't there. I wasn't teaching there, but it's really cool that he actually was there for 2 months. When they moved here, and he finished up 8th grade here, and now he's graduating college, and they're both the first in their families to graduate from college. It's going to be an emotional graduation day to see them, walk across and get their diplomas. So I'm very, happy with their success, and that's what to me. Forget about the wins and losses. That's something that I've always respected with Mark Watt over at Malloy, the men he's molded and what they've done in the real world. That's the true side of a coach.
Oh yeah, I think listen. I mean, all the coaches that have come on here in the past, and even especially our coaches here at Five Towns, yourself, Greg, Jeff, and Corey. Christy when she was here. Shout out to Christy. You guys have always been about in the classroom. You guys have always been about making sure our players are even better people off the court or off the field. And I think you all have done that. And I think that it speaks volumes. Adrian and Saeed, their success musically, they're following what Adrian and Saeed have done. And, it's just, amazing. I go, like I said, Adrian, I go back to 4 years ago, right around this time. We had him on 4 years ago, and look at where he was then and now, and, where they're going to be. And, they're doing concerts, and we're going to obviously have some of the guys back from the 2021 team to induct them in the Hall of Fame. Want them to be the first team to be inducted. So congratulations to them and all the players that you've had that graduated, because you've had a lot of them. You're going to miss some players, I know, but obviously there's still a lot of players, and we'll definitely talk about that, I know for sure, at a different date. But I did want to ask you before I get to closing thoughts, what would you like to say to anybody that supported you over the years in this journey, where it's led you to, where you are today, and, with that big USA on the shirt there?
Just thank you. Thank you. And it definitely takes a village, and, I appreciate everyone, support from a friendship, family standpoint. There's been sacrifices, my immediate family, my extended family, there's stuff that, I've missed with my friends, stuff, but
it's tough. I hear that all the time with the wrestlers that come on here, and they will, to go wrestle, they'll drive 5-6 hours to and from, and, they're missing time. Some of them have families, and it's that's the tough part. You don't get that time back. I remember as a kid when my father used to work a lot. We didn't see him, for a few years.
You don't get it back, but it does make when you are there, a little bit more special, because you try to soak in those moments as much as possible. But just thank you, and I'm very grateful to have the support system that I have. family, my parents, my sister, my brother. It's funny. My sister, when the news came out, she has a close group chat of like 10 friends, and her group chat like blew up about it with like a million questions. My sister was like screenshotting it to me, so that was like kind of cool as well. I'm very grateful for the experience that I had. I always just wanted to be, back in the day, just a high school coach, and to think, where I am now.
I even think about, like I said, I keep going back to it 4+ years ago, where you were, right? And I never forget, even before you interviewed me, we spoke on the phone, we had a conversation, we went back and forth. I even go back to when Matt Gershio called me up. It was about 50 months ago, as a matter of fact. I'd like to talk to you, and I'd like to talk about, what I'm doing here. And, then, we spoke, and I go back to, I have flashbacks a lot of our conversation because of the magnitude of it. Because after I hung up and did the interview with you, COVID, it was like, I still, in my head, I still play it over and over, even to this day, because before I recorded the interview to after, the world changed. It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I don't know if you remember that day. I remember calling. I had a flat tire.
I do remember it.
I was coaching baseball at 194. We were going to start a baseball team, and luckily, the other coach,
It was Wednesday
Florida,
afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon, we
Yep.
fixed the tire, and I was on the Cross Island, and that was probably why you barely were hearing me with the sound. And
but my sound audio wasn't it is now. We have lights, we have banners. I mean,
it's come a long way.
It's a different world.
It's come a long way, and from where we were there to where it is now, it's pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable stuff.
I just wanted to say how much I think before we close and sign off. And I want to say one of my buddies, Mr. James Taylor, was 8,500 subscribers on YouTube, about 80,000 on TikTok. He's also in the Hall of Fame. And James was my 2023 Personality of the Year. And he says hello to both of us. But I always go back to that because it would have been easy for you and the school to have, given up, not have been as proactive, but you were using what a great coach would be: calm, collected, keep everybody in the moment, in the fight. And I think that is led not only to you in the Hall of Fame, but really you here with that USA emblem on your polo shirt, and also to the success at Five Towns, being number one in the country, going to the USCAAs as many times as you had, having the opportunity to connect with people. And, I even go back to really, connecting with you. John Petrucelli is arguably one of the greatest basketball players come out of Long Island. And it's because of you. You gave me that opportunity. I mean, John Petrucelli probably doesn't remember me, but the fact of the matter is that, no, I got this. But the fact that you connected me with John Petrucelli, you connected me with Paige Palazzolo, you connected me with obviously people within the school. You connected me with people like Dane Johnson, the worldwide Pez collector. And, that gave me an opportunity to speak with people. And, it continued to allow the platform to grow. So I couldn't think of a better person to make the first coach in the Hall of Fame. And I want to say hello to a couple of our Hall of Famers here also saying hello. Mr. Omen Black, who also is in the talk show business. He is also the DKW world champion. He wrestles in live venues. And we have a joke that it's kind of his show, but technically we're co-owners of a backyard wrestling company. Long story for a difference. I don't want to get you to lose the job. USA amputee soccer team, but he's congratulating also the guys in the IMF who also have a great promotion. We're doing some work with them in 2 weeks, about 3 weeks from now, actually. But I just, really wanted to say before we get to closing those, thank you really for, all you've done. Thank you for being, the person that, has been not just, with Five Towns, all the wins and losses and, what you've done as a coach and a mentor and all the great things that you've done in helping these kids become adults. And I think that's the greatest trait of any coach. And I said this when I inducted you and finishing the speech. To me, the greatest trait of any coach is what you do for the people you have in that snapshot in time and what they do the rest of their lives. And you've done that here with Five Towns, since December the 14th, 2018 to where we are today. And especially on that moment, March the 5th, 2024, I think that your life really permanently changed when you became the head coach of the United States amputee soccer team. So to me, there's nothing else like saying your country. You have it, and we're so honored to have you. I know when, you could become famous like 6 months from now, and, you all of a sudden get maybe a call at Malloy to come back there. I said, no, Gershio will kill me for that. But the facts are you're going to be even bigger than where you are now. And whatever you do, you've always got my support. I'm forever indebted to you. And I can't wait to bring you back on. And I hope you're happy that you got into the Hall of Fame before Gordy Esso did. And now you'll definitely, for sure, never have to hear about Olive Garden anymore.
Olive Garden's done. Thank you, Tom. And obviously, any help you deserve it. Obviously, you've done really well for us. And anytime I can connect people with each other, it's always a good thing. It's always been a joke. Like, I have a large group of friends, and not because I'm like super friendly, just I like to connect people. And
no, you've always been that way. I'm in countless group chats with you. I mean, I'm in
it's
them.
It's good. I think
and
in this world.
Listen, Coach, Andrew Cobian years ago, I knew Andrew Cobian, who blew up.
Yeah.
I mean, Flores. We knew Flores. That was a French thing.
Yeah.
All the guys. It was funny. I never forget the one time I met Flores. And I saw him. I'm like, oh, I know you. And he was like, hey, yeah, I know you. Then you came up, I think, when I met him at the gym there in John Jay before COVID.
Yes. And it's just a small world. It is. And I think in this world where you see all the hate out there, if we could ever just, when you get a bunch of people to get along, it's just a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely.
So anytime I'm able to connect people, it's always a good thing.
Long Island is such a small community. My stomping grounds in Brooklyn and Staten Island, kind of still like that. It's not what it used to be, but there's still some of that left. And I think, but Long Island, especially in the game, is in good hands with you and everything else. And before I get to closing thoughts, I want to say hello and say hello to one of my other Hall of Famers who wants to congratulate you, Hillbilly Tilly. And I've got coverage for his company tomorrow night. He wants to say thank you for coaching
such
a special team of athletes and representing our country. Greatly appreciate you. And I also want to say, I paraphrased his words because he said kind of about wrestlers. I took it away and talked about athletes. And athletes at this level do it for the love of this sport. Coaches at this level do it for the love of this sport. And that's why they're true coaches, true athletes, true people. And Jason Fiscina fits exactly what I say, what Hillbilly Tilly said about all of our great wrestlers. Coach, I know you've got to recruit. I know you got, Gordy Esso blowing up your phone. I know you got Dame blowing up your phone. I'm sure Coach Palazzolo's like, why were you back on Sportswire again? I'm sure Matt Gershio is like, that guy, it's Tom Bryce from Staten Island. Giselle's already, throwing the phone in the air.
That was a good Gershio right there. That was
he always did it. Tom Bryce from Staten Island.
That was really good. That was good.
I was actually born in Brooklyn. I mean, I lived in Brooklyn until I was graduated high school. So I'm going to remind you where I'm actually from. But different conversation for a different time. But shout out to Coach Litwin. Love Coach Litwin. Love Coach Jocks. Also Christy Herring. Love Christy Herring. Thomas O'Keefe. But I also want to thank all of your players that came on over the years. I know we're going to see some of them coming up next month when the 21 men's soccer team gets inducted. But I've said enough, Coach. I want to give you the floor. I can't thank you enough, and this is one's for you.
Yeah, I promise it's not going to be. Your intro, I'm still speechless over about 15 minutes long. I'm definitely not going to be that long, but thank you, Tom, for having me back on. Thank you for giving me such an amazing honor. And truly, I mean this, the words Hall of Fame and me are never something I would ever really think about. So the fact that you put me in yours means the world.
If I didn't put you in the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't have a Hall of Fame because really, in a way, you're kind of responsible for the Hall of Fame because, you've been the constant all the years. Yes, Gordy Esso has, but, you really every single year, you've come onto the platform. 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. You've always been here. So if I didn't put you in the Hall of Fame, I feel like you would be a word I said last night when I was saying in a different tone, intellectually dishonest to have a Hall of Fame. If I didn't have you in it, well, I can also, by the way, when I have you in the Hall of Fame now, because there's certain people that say, oh, well, Sportswire is not really a Hall of Fame. Well, I can say, well, now we have the head coach of the United States men's amputee soccer team, so you can go shove it where the sun don't shine. But
there you go. There you go. But thank you again for having me on. For everyone who's been a part of my journey, my family, obviously, who I've spoken about. Thank you. To my buddies at work that will be probably reviewing this and watching this interview over. Thank you. Gordy Esso, all my coaching network, my players. Obviously, I'm nothing without them.
Sure.
I'm very thankful and grateful, Matt, for giving me the opportunity to
love Matt,
coach
by the way. Love Matt.
Took me out of coaching high school girls basketball to coaching a college soccer team. I don't think anyone else would have given me that opportunity. So thank you for that. And to Dr. Cohen and everyone at 5
Love Dr. Cohen. Dr. Jeff, by the way, big shout out to Dr. Jeff. Jeff's probably Jeff's probably at the Masters somewhere
He
or
was.
somewhere
He
else.
was. I saw a picture. I think he was.
That's why I mentioned he's probably still at the Masters.
Yeah, it probably is. And then Eric Lambert over with the U.S. amputee soccer team and all those people over there, Paige Palazzolo.
Love
I'm
Paige.
really looking forward to working with them and putting the best product we can on the field and lifting up some trophies. And I'm very thankful and thank you again for having me on, Tom. And it's a true honor to be in the Hall of Fame.
No question about that. If you want to follow all things related, first of all, to the Five Towns Town men's soccer team, FTC Men's Soccer on Instagram. Also, you can check out 5towns_sound on Instagram. Also, if you want to follow all things related to the U.S. amputee soccer team, Instagram U.S. amputee soccer, which will provide you to the link tree of every single link you can. And especially check out the website where if you want to donate, support the cause, because these athletes go out there and they do it for the right reasons. They do it for the true love of this sport. They do it for the community. And that's what makes them great people. That's also why we honored them on this day and gave them a day. We wanted to give back to them. And I also want to thank Hillbilly Tilly. He said the Sportswire Hall of Fame is becoming one of the greatest Hall of Fame in sports where all sports matter. Because you know what? We have you in the Hall of Fame, Danny Burns, who played in the Final Four from the only team ever in CUNY in the Hall of Fame. And I'm sure Drizel and Gordieso are going to follow because they heard this one tonight.
You're in trouble. The clock started with Gordieso already. He's going to be calling you nonstop now.
Drizel already texted me, by the way. He's like,
"Oh, he did."
He said it's blasphemy. He said it's blasphemy. I'm called because I'm hot right now.
I'm shocked. Greg's awake right now. That's impressive.
I texted him the link. I texted him the link.
Oh, he did.
I was like, shots fired. Well, listen, he would have found out. Listen, he would have found out.
Listen, I'll never forget that day. I said, Corey was going on. We were just casually in Garcia's office. And he goes, Corey's going on. I'm the one talking to Tom about Yankee baseball. How am I not on yet? And,
Well, I brought Greg on. No, I love Greg. And Greg,
I know you.
I love Greg. We kind of have an interesting back and forth banner. He's almost kind of like the modern day Frank Layden of Five Towns. For those that don't know who Frank Layden was, he was the coach of the Utah Jazz, who famously, once upon a time, he was on an NBA bloopers show, actually went to get a hot dog. And while he was coaching in the game, he cared more about getting a hot dog and a soda than his players on the court. Maybe that's why he didn't last as the head coach of the Utah Jazz. But no, we love them all. We will certainly, I think you have certainly cemented what you've done as a coach. And I thank you, Hillbilly Tilly, for that. We have a great Hall of Fame, a great group of people. We have a journalist in the Hall of Fame as well. Ernest Dove covers the Mets. Also want to say hello to one of my future Hall of Famers, 3 weeks now, Mr. Levi McDaniel, well-known wrestler, well-known vlogger, YouTuber. We have a lot of great people, management guy, just awesome people. And Coach, I know you're a busy man. I know you got a number of different calls to get to. So thank you so much for all that you've done here. Thank you for all that you've done here for Five Towns, for being a coach, mentor, father, husband, everything else that you've done. You've been such the definition of a true selfless role model. And congratulations on the new role here at the U.S. amputee soccer team. And I'll see you hopefully during the season or after the season, because you're superstitious. So after the season. So.
Well, what we'll do is we'll do the Johnson base because it's.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna come to camp this year. I tell you what, I'm coming to camp. So you know what? Scratch that, because I'm gonna come to camp. So I tell you what. I'm going to save Dame Johnson till the summer.
No, but hear me out. You could do that all in one day. And if you want to get crazy, if we get the U.S. team there, we could get you there too. But honestly, we could definitely do a Johnson. It's right by school. Johnson's place is right by school. And then you go to camp.
I'll tell you what. Let's go with that. So I'm going to go with Johnson's house. Then I'm going with you. And I'm making a day of it. So I'm going to make a whole day in Long Island. I'm going to spend more time than I've been on Long Island in like 3 years. So
we'll get you some good Long Island pizza.
And not the all-American hamburger. Where I had where it was like, okay, garbage.
Well, look at the people you were with that day. I mean,
I was one guy who was the coach that left the show, and
we're not going to go there.
We're not going there. But
we're not going there.
On that note, Coach, thank you so much. Obviously, this is our newest member of the Hall of Fame, our first coach into the Hall of Fame of many others. That is Jason Fiscina. He's the head coach of the U.S. amputee men's soccer team. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, where all sports matter here on Sportswire Radio. If you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regularly scheduled programming. I'll be back here 10 o'clock Eastern time with ADT tomorrow. He is the AWL World Heavyweight Champion. He's got a lot to say, and he's going to talk about a couple of other things on his mind. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one Global Relations